Hey everyone, Dave here, and welcome back to Drinks with Dave. And today we are going to make a Bramble. It's a modern classic from the 80s, and it's a blend of citrus, gin, and blackberry. It's a perfect sipper for any time, but especially the fleeting, warm days of summer when blackberries are at their peak. And it actually kind of reminds me of when I was a kid, and I used to go out and pick them around this time of the year, which is interesting because the guy that created the drink was inspired by sort of the same thing. So if you're new to the channel, go ahead and hit that subscribe button if you want more Drinks with Dave, and let's go and make a Bramble. Now this drink owes its origin to a bartender named Dick Bradsell, and it was created back in 1984. And I know that the 80s are not exactly known to be a great time for cocktails, but Dick was one of those bartenders who was crafting great, delicious drinks at a time when a lot of other bartenders were just using neon syrups and not so fresh ingredients. Now, as it turns out, Mr. Bradsell's inspiration for the cocktail boiled down to one particular ingredient, and that ingredient is called Créme de Mûre. And Créme de Mûre is a blackberry liqueur. Apparently, the blackberry reminded him of growing up as a child on the island of Wight, where he used to pick blackberries among the thorny bushes. And those thorny bushes are also called brambles, hence the name of the drink. Now, what's really kind of interesting about the drink is that when he came up with it, his intention was to make it a truly British cocktail. But in his own words, he actually admitted that he failed at that. And this is because he couldn't find a decent Créme de Mûre that didn't come from France. And not only that, but the fresh lemons in the cocktail had to be sourced from Spain. So it really wasn't that British of a drink after all. But despite the drink's shortcomings as being a fully British cocktail, the drink's success was in its simplicity, and it became an overnight modern classic. It's enjoyed around the world, there's tons of variations, lots of riffs on this drink, but I thought that today we would make it the way that it was originally intended. I actually think that that's the best version of the drink. I've had a few. I really like it the way it was meant to be. So let's take a look at what goes into it. And those ingredients are gonna be gin, our Créme de Mûre, fresh lemon juice, and to sweeten it, we'll be using simple syrup, blackberries, and a lemon. Now the gin that we're gonna be using for the drink today is Beefeater, and I really like it because it's very accessible. It's got a nice juniper forward aspect to it that's gonna cut through some of the other ingredients that we've got going on here. Now the next ingredient is the hero of the cocktail. This is the Créme de Mûre. I'm using Drillade, and this is the brand I like to use. It's got a very deep blackberry flavor to it. It was very difficult for me to find. I actually had to go out of state to get my hands on this one. If you can't get your hands on a Créme de Mûre, a true Créme de Mûre, then you could use like Chambord, which is a black raspberry flavor. It's not blackberry, but it works. Or you could use something like Crème de Cassis. I've seen that done. I've even tried it. But today we're using this particular brand. And then our lemon juice, which is fresh squeezed. Always use fresh squeezed. Our simple syrup we're going to use to sweeten this. The simple syrup is a 1.5 to 1 ratio. So 1.5 parts sugar to 1 part water. Then of course we have our blackberries. They're fresh and in season now, so it's perfect. And we will need 1 lemon because that's going to serve as part of the garnish. Voila! Those are the ingredients to make the Bramble. So let's go ahead and build this drink. Before you get started, make sure you got plenty of crushed ice, and this particular drink is going to be made in your mixing tin. So begin with your mixing tin, and to that we are going to add 1.5 ounces of our gin, 3/4 of an ounce of our fresh squeezed lemon juice, 1/2 ounce of semi-rich simple syrup. Remember, that's the 1.5 to 1 ratio, sugar to water. Then we'll add some ice to the mixing tin. And then we're going to shake this. Now you only want to shake this for about 5 to 10 seconds. We don't want to over dilute because we're going to be pouring this over crushed ice. I like to use a double old fashioned glass. And to that we'll add our crushed ice, maybe about 3/4 of the way. And then we'll simply strain off the cocktail over the crushed ice. There'll be some air bubbles there at the bottom if it's kind of packed in. This is where I'll use my bar spoon and just kind of loosen it up a little bit, just to make sure it gets all incorporated. Add a little bit more crushed ice, and to the top we will add our 1/2 ounce of Créme de Mûre, and it will float and gradually just kind of sink down through the ice. And this traditionally gets a lemon wheel and a blackberry garnish, but I've got a lot of blackberries and I love them, so I'm gonna use 3. And I like to use a straw when I have a crushed ice cocktail like this. Just makes it easier to drink. Cheers. That's a Bramble. I like the way the blackberry settles at the bottom and it just kind of gives this layered effect. Honestly, it's a perfectly balanced drink. Beautiful for the end of summer. Blackberries are in season right now, so it just works. Now, this is not a drink I would expect to have been served back in 1984 when I was just a kid. It's sweet and it's tart. It's got that deep blackberry kind of flavor that permeates it, and you still get the gin that comes through, kind of that juniper pop at the end. I can see why it became an overnight success and why it has stood the test of time. Anyway, it's a great drink and I hope you try it, and I hope you liked what you saw today. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you'd like more Drinks with Dave, and until next time, cheers.